I got to update that number in the intro because it's up
Yeah.
to 61 million now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CBC Wizdumb Hour, number 149 for Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. I'm Steve Witchell in New Orleans.
Tony B, the Fabulous T, coming to you live from New Jersey. What's happening?
I saw you put that. The Fabulous T.
Yes.
Let's put that up.
What's happening?
There it
There
is.
we go.
If you're watching right now live, we are broadcasting on the Cover Band Central group, Cover Band Central Facebook page, and YouTube as well. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. The link is in the description. And if you're watching in the group and you'd like to comment, make sure you click that link in the description that lets StreamYard show your name, which is where we're broadcasting. And please come in and say hello. If you're watching, tell us where you're from, and we'll talk about some stuff.
Hola!
But yeah, since I've been back from the hospital, I started back up on my regular post, and I track the insights every day and the numbers. And remember, it went up to 50 million. That's what we have there in the intro.
Yes.
It's up to 61 million in the last 28 days of post reach on the Cover Band Central Facebook page.
Wow. That's a lot of people, Steve.
That's 61 million instances where it was in front of somebody's eyes.
That's 1 million more than 60 million.
Yeah. So it's, I still don't know what to do with that. I need to capitalize on that. I have some ideas that fairly new ideas.
You need a post with a little click on it that says donate 10 cents. You'd be all set.
Yeah, most people won't do that. Donate 10 cents.
But if they did, Steve.
They did, it'd be fantastic.
61 million dimes that you'd have.
That's right. That would be a lot. That'd be good. We'll take it. Because that's $6 million. I would be the $6 million man.
You would be, Steve Austin.
Yes. Just calling me that. So, yeah, we were off last week because I was displaced again. And frankly, that where I was, it wasn't a good, I didn't really feel like doing it, but it wasn't a good location to broadcast.
Well, we powered through it the week before that.
We did. I had better where I was last week. The internet was a little spottier. So,
but now you're home, Steve. You're back in your studio, and
I'm home. Yes,
you got your power on, and you're listening to the rain outside, and life is good.
Yeah, felt really good. I was away for 2 weeks, displaced because of Hurricane Ida, and now I've been back home since Friday, and it feels fucking great.
And how's your general area as far
as
damage goes and stuff? No,
it's fine.
You're okay.
A lot of trees and branches, but structures are fine around me.
And no flooding. You didn't get any water in your place.
No, my place, you wouldn't be able to tell anything. You wouldn't be able to tell that there was a storm.
Wow.
Except for the fact that I moved all my expensive gear off of the floor onto the, elevated in case there was flooding.
I see you got a lot of it on the stage in the back there, elevated. That's good. Smart thinking.
That's right. That's the way to go. So, yeah, it's great to be back home. I'm still on oxygen most of the time. I took it off for this broadcast, but still a ways to go with healing from the pneumonia. And I haven't played yet. And I feel like I could probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks get back to playing.
Like playing in your house, like jamming and getting used to playing again, or getting out in the club and playing?
Getting out in the club, going back to work.
Cool.
I'm not sure, and I have.
Would you be like Aqualung? Would you put like a strap on, like oxygen tank on your back, and have the thing come around in front?
I wish I could, because that'd be great.
That would be cool.
I mean,
and it's almost Halloween time. You could put on some flippers and like a mask, and you could be like, you'd be like Deep Sea Man.
That's right. I'm costume every week. Deep Sea Man and astronaut.
Astronaut. You could be Aqualung. You could be Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah. Who else wears a mask like that for breathing? I think that's it.
To be the boy in the plastic bubble.
Yeah. There you go. How come nobody's commenting? What is going on out there, people? Say hello. I got
they're all stormbound, Steve.
Right.
Stormy out tonight.
But I have a doctor's appointment next Tuesday. I had to miss. There we go. See, Darth Vader.
Yeah, BC.
Darth Vader. Danny Wild is in Vegas. Said he's glad I'm back home. I'm glad too. Now, see now. There you go. Scuba Steve.
There you go, Scuba Steve. I like that.
That's right.
Steve. Scuba Steve.
All right. Now, see, now everybody's, hey, guys.
There you go. See, you had to get him started, Steve. It just takes once. It's like an empty dance floor. It just takes one person to get up. Jim Long's at the Blue Velvet.
That's right. It's the empty dance floor.
It's like the empty dance floor, No one wants to go first. But as soon as you get one person out there, everybody follows.
Yes.
So
but anyway, I had to miss a doctor's appointment because of there was no power anywhere. So I have one next week. So I'll wait till after the checkup to see where we're at before I decide to go back to work. But
gotcha.
Like I said, I'm feeling better every day. So I'm hoping that I can, because I miss playing it. And this is my favorite time of year, as I say every year. When it's September, it's fall, it starts to be, Halloween, holidays. I love it.
And what's your band been doing? They've been you have a sub?
I don't. Yeah, they've had sub for me. Mostly Craig, this guy Craig, who, by the way, had told me a while ago, probably like a year ago. He's like, I want to be a guest on your podcast. So we got to have Craig on one of these weeks. But I don't really know. I think they played last weekend, but I was in the quarter last week, and man, it was just depressing. Like there was barely anybody there. Most of the places were closed.
It got hit hard, man.
Yeah. So I don't know if during the weekend, if there were bands out playing, if there were people out, I have no idea. So I got to check in with the band and see what's going on. Rosemary said, good to see you're still at it. And if at it, whatever it is, I'm at it.
Have at it, Scotty.
Yes. So
not you, Scotty. I was talking to him. Sorry, I got my
the beam me up Scotty guy.
Yeah, Super Scotty over here was commenting that I was calling him.
So during this past couple weeks, where I had to split from the hurricane.
Yeah.
I ended up watching first. When the storm was, I was watching a lot of TV for the weather and stuff. But then once it was kind of over, I started watching a lot of Netflix and movies and stuff, documentaries and just regular movies. And I was driving when I was out in Mobile, when I was staying at the hotel. They have Jersey Mike's out in Mobile. Do you have Jersey Mike's in Jersey?
Of course, it's where it's from.
I know, but
yes, we have Jersey Mike's.
But
it's Jersey Mike's. It's called Northeast Mike's here.
Jersey Mike's is my favorite. That's classic New Jersey subs.
Yeah, and they're good.
They're really good, and those are the classic ones, like you would have gotten in the
chicken cheesesteak with some bell peppers on it.
Yeah, good like stuff. If you were to go into an Italian deli in the 70s and 80s, that's the sub. Those are the subs you would get. And so I drove to Jersey Mike's, and it was like a half-hour drive. I'm driving with my oxygen, my tank in the car, and I'm listening to.
You're on a mission to Jersey Mike's.
Yeah.
Oh, What'd you get? What'd you get at Jersey Mike's?
I get the roast beef and provolone, and the Italian, the full-on Italian sub that with everything.
Yeah.
And do it Mike's way. So it's got the oil and vinegar and the lettuce, tomato, and onions. Oh,
yeah,
great.
Good stuff.
The closest one to me here is in Slidell, which is like a 35-minute drive. And it's worth that drive. So I'll probably go back soon.
Okay.
But anyway, I was driving to Jersey Mike's, and I'm listening to Sirius XM and the 80s channel. 80s channel is one I always check.
Yeah.
And, they have the DJs there are some of the old VJs from MTV.
Yep.
Mark Goodman, Alan Hunter, Nina Blackwood, and is that it? Those three do DJ things, but of course there was Martha Quinn and JJ Jackson. JJ Jackson has passed away since. But they had this August 1st.
You had Mark Goodman too.
Yeah, that's what I said. Mark Goodman, Alan Hunter, and Nina Blackwood.
Right, and then you had Martha Quinn, JJ.
That was it. Those were the original five.
Right.
Um, but they had this special because MTV debuted August 1st, 1981, which is 40 years ago. So they're celebrating their 40th anniversary thing. So they had this special on where it was Mark Goodman, Nina Blackwood, Alan Hunter, and Martha Quinn, and they were talking about the origins of MTV and that first day, those first couple hours. So they were playing the music of the videos that they played in the first couple hours, and then
Do you
they had
remember what
other.
you remember what those first videos were? There was like
I know
5.
the first one. I know the Buggles was the first video killed radio
Yes.
star, which is completely appropriate song to start with because they were foretelling.
Yes, they were. But there was very few bands that had videos at that time, like ready to go. Like when MTV came out,
Right.
bands were quickly scrambling to shoot video. But there was a handful that already had video ready to go. And those are
Yeah.
the guys that were on the front, the leading edge of MTV.
Yeah, that's one of the things they were talking about. So I found it really interesting. And then they were talking about there was this special on one of the cable channels. I don't remember which one. A documentary called "I Want My MTV," where they were all interviewed, and it's just kind of the history of MTV. So I watched that during the last couple of weeks, and you forget because MTV gets so slammed now because they don't play music videos and they've had those cheesy shows.
Yeah, right. It
But
used to be just music and
but
music documentaries and
yeah, you forget how influential MTV was on
oh
the
yeah.
entire music industry for a long time. I mean, like you're just saying about the videos, there were very few, and that's one of the things they talked about. They played a lot of Rod Stewart videos because Rod Stewart had a lot of videos. So they just played people who had videos.
Yeah,
That's what they
but
played.
in the first, I think the first month, it was like Quarter Flash, Harden My Heart was on once an hour. Lover Boy, Working for the Weekend.
Was that early? 81?
And then there was I think Kinks Come Dancing was one.
Come dancing.
Yep. David Johansen was one. Marshall Crenshaw, Someday, Some Way. That was one.
Ooh, wow. That's a
Yeah. And
major
then
throwback.
I'm trying to think like because I remember me and my brother used to always goof on it because there was only like it's the same 10 videos like being rotated all the time. So if you sat and watched it long enough, you saw the same video again. And it wasn't like in order, like 1 through 10, It might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 6, 7, 8, 2, 9, 10, 11, and back to 3. Like it was
Yeah,
mixed up, but it was the same bunch of bands that had the same videos.
right. Yeah, because they didn't have a lot to choose from, but
Right.
it did change the whole.
Sure, because now all these bands that had albums, now had another medium that they had to now adapt to, right? And then it became you had to look good in front of the camera too, So they had to, take these guys and make them presentable in some
Right.
instances.
Music became visual, and
Yeah.
it was very opposed by a lot of purists, with music. Like music's not supposed to be about that. But the artists and bands that took advantage of it and embraced the whole change in the dynamic of the industry were the ones that really had a lot of success. So REO Speedwagon was another one because that album had come out that year and they had some success with it, and they had those live videos.
Yes.
And MTV played REO, Keep on Loving You, and the other one, the one that I play all the time. Heard it from a friend who.
Oh yeah.
That one.
Take It on the Road.
Take It on the Run. Yes. So they went from because they had Kevin Cronin, the lead singer. They interviewed him in the movie and also on this thing on Sirius XM. And he was talking about how because they would just leave a concert and go to McDonald's and nobody would recognize them.
Right.
They didn't really know what they looked like. But now all of a sudden they went from that to needing security and,
think about that too, right? It makes all these artists highly recognizable because you're seeing them on MTV now day in and day out. And all of a sudden you say, hey, there's Scuba Steve.
Scuba Steve.
Yeah. People start flocking over like Beatles.
That's an interesting thing. Or on the flip side, it could have done bad things, like Danny says here, the Billy Squire killer, and that was actually talked about somewhere. I think in the documentary, because he put out the video of "Rock Me Tonight," and the video was him just in these pink pants and just dancing around the room and snapping and jumping on beds and shit. Do you remember that video?
I do. It was bad.
Yeah, and it made everybody like, what?
Yeah,
And I didn't really react to it that way because I thought the song was good. So I just like, whatever.
Yeah, and then some of the videos got cheesy, and they started, making fun of stuff, and it wasn't so serious anymore. You know what I mean? And then, it's funny you say that because, strangely enough, so like, you say how it influenced, the industry and people and musicians and bands and people watching it. So last week, I get a phone call from a friend of mine who I haven't seen since before COVID, and he says, "Hey, I bought tickets to Rush Cinema Strangiato. They do it once a year, and it's the
Okay.
R40 tour with some other footage, and it was director's cut, and it was different than last year. So long story short, he's like, "Do you want to go?" So I said, "Yeah, let me see if I got, if I can accommodate in my schedule," and I was able to. So last Thursday, we went and we saw it down at AMC movie theater in Garden State Plaza by me. And it was in surround sound, and it was on the big screen. And it takes you through. First of all, it's the first time you see Rush in concert on a big screen when you're in the theater. It's different than watching it on your TV at home, and you have the
Sure.
surround sound. And everything's big and up close, and the sound was pretty good. And but yeah, so then you see how through the years, because they did they do like a whole documentary from like 74 forward, like little flashes of stuff, and that whole R40 tour, they come out like in present day, and they keep stripping the stage down until they get to 1974, and they're in a gym with like 2 amps, and they're like back to the roots. But what was cool about it was that you got to see that, and I don't know if all the years you saw Rush, but if you remember on every tour, they used to dress up in like costumes and do skits, and then like before or in between intermission, they would have like these little clips, but they weren't like a minute long. They were like 5, 6, 7 minutes long, and it could have been them jamming with an Oompa Loompa band, and they're all dressed up like Munchkins or something, but it had all this like visual stuff going on.
Right.
And then secondly, when I went, I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool to go and hang out with my buddy. I haven't seen him and stuff, but then actually not expecting to leave the theater inspired. Like after seeing, the 3-hour Rush marathon concert and all the footage and everything that they talked about doing, and you got to see them perform, and the different stories about the violinist from New Jersey. I don't know if you'd heard that story, but he, the song "Losing It" by Rush. It's on Signal's album. There's an electric violin solo at the end. So this guy, and I can't remember his name, but he lives in Jersey, and he learned it. And then when he was a kid, he learned it, and then he became a professional violinist. And then he emailed Rush and said, "Hey, I can play Losing It, and I'm a professional violinist. If you're ever in the tri-state area and you want to do it live, let me know. I'd love to come and jam it with you guys."
How do you email Rush?
I guess he contacted their management company or something, and then they ended up calling him back and saying like, "Yeah, why don't you come down?" And then he ended up playing it on stage with them, and that footage is in that director's cut that's on this one. And there was they only played it in Jersey because it was the only place that they had a violinist to do it.
Right. That's cool.
But it was cool to see, like you see the evolution of the band and whatnot. But like I said, so I definitely think when you see things, they can have an effect on you. Like they inspire you. It re-engaged me to be like, wow, I still a big fan of Rush, but I haven't seen him in years, obviously. And to see it again, it was just great to bring you back to all the music, and then it brings you back to your inspiration and your roots as a musician, and then you build on that. So you walk out of that theater, not only having an enjoyable experience, but now you're taking away something else for the next day that's going to keep, propelling you forward.
Right.
So that's a cool thing I think about the video medium. And also the fact that, like you said, all these bands now, they record like every show in 4K, and it's all professionally mixed, and they have soundboard, they have everything captured. So, I mean, they can create videos upon videos upon videos of all these different footages. Like now I saw there was a 40th anniversary Permanent Waves boxed edition with like a remastered thing. And then it had all video from like the Hemispheres tour couple songs from that, like early Rush. But even back then, they were videotaping the shows, And I know
Right.
Muse is one of those bands that does that
Yeah.
too. They record every show and they do it in like super hi-fi, 48 channel digital audio, and then they can mix it down later and use it.
Yeah. So Rush is a good example for the beginnings of MTV, like the rock bands that did well, that already had live concert footage, because those were the videos that they would play
Right.
of those bands. Like Rush, didn't they play like Tom Sawyer live?
Yeah, they had
Like
they had Fly By
Spirit
Night,
of
they had Tom
Radio?
Sawyer, Spirit of Radio, they had a bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah, so Rush was part of MTV in the early days because they had those live videos. So they used to pull. That's the way MTV did it. Was at first they just did all the concept videos, and then they were like, "Oh, we could just use video clips from these live ones that exist." Like Dio,
Yes.
D-Rock, they
Yep.
would play. Eagles, Hotel California, that live video was the one that they would play, the live version.
Yeah, because it was already done. It was already edited, and it was already,
And
assembled.
because they didn't have a concept Hotel California video, that's all they had was the concert videos. So it's it's really like people slam MTV now, but it's MTV just was a game changer. It just changed the entire dynamic, the entire paradigm in music, and it hasn't been the same since. And of course, now we've expanded into internet and YouTube. And so, one point I want to make about this is that, yeah, that's true. That was another early band, Duran Duran, who embraced the whole concept. They did the album Rio came out, and they did Hungry Like the Wolf and Rio and a bunch of other ones.
Well, it was interesting. I saw a behind the music thing on Duran Duran, and they were saying how they super were into image and embraced the whole theatrics of the performance. So they were already geared up for that, with the hair, makeup, clothes. They dressed certain ways, every album they had a different look, and they were very much about that image. And that's what propelled them really to stardom. That's what Simon Le Bon was saying. It was they were recognizable because they had a different sound, but the way they looked, they dressed different than everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of that sort of new wave,
Yep.
the early 80s, those kind of bands that understood the whole image thing, Culture Club, any of those kind of bands. So it's interesting because one of the conversations that comes up in the Cover Band Central group occasionally is just that image, like how you're looking when you're dressing live, when you're playing live, how you dress, and a lot of people, I would say more than half of the bands that go out there and play, don't really put any thought into it. They just wear what they wear. Now, I don't know if Danny's still watching, but Danny's somebody I work with who's a singer who always puts thought into it. He always dresses for the stage. And I'm of the belief that it is super important because of the fact that a lot of things get captured on video and put onto YouTube, and that is how you are presenting yourself to the world. People who don't really know you already or didn't see you at that gig, they're discovering you on YouTube, so they're going to have an opinion about how you look.
Sure.
It's natural for everybody.
And if you're wearing cargo shorts and sandals, that opinion's going to be that.
Right. So that the cargo shorts conversation comes up all the time, and that is an argument against them. That is like, unless that's your look, unless you're a beach band and you're all out and everybody's wearing cargo shorts and sandals.
Or unless you're a drummer and it's 95 degrees out and the gig's outside in the sun.
Right. Yeah. And the drummer gets a pass on it. Drummers. Because
hell, drummer can wear shorts and no shirt and be golden, man. It's like the look.
Yeah. Yeah. Travis Barker, Tommy Lee.
Yeah. Taylor Hawkins, all these guys.
Taylor Hawkins, too. Yeah.
Shirtless drummers.
Taylor Hawkins is in the movie, so I suggested that you watch Count Me In, which is a documentary on drums and drummers, and it's on Netflix.
Yep.
Netflix. And Taylor Hawkins is in that. Stuart Copeland. Some really good drummers. It's good, worth the watch if you're a drummer or a fan of drums.
We'll check it out this weekend. I'll comment on it next time.
So that's one that I saw. Um, and yeah, those were the two that I saw. But it really got me thinking about the whole video thing. And then MTV later with TRL was a thing. Like the countdown thing was huge. Before it was TRL, there was just like a daily Monday through Friday top 10 countdown, and you
Yep.
would call dial MTV. You would call
Mm-hmm.
1-800 dial MTV, and you would vote for your favorite video of
Yep.
the day, and then they would count down. And it was generally, that was like the late 80s, and it was generally the hair metal bands that were in there, Poison and Bon Jovi and Skid Row, and yeah, and some bands really had some success just because of that.
Well, I think the great success of MTV was that there was no competition until VH1 came out, but there was no saturation. Like nowadays, you're almost at capacity with the amount of choices that you can watch. You know what I mean? There's literally hundreds of thousands of things to choose from if you go on YouTube. MTV was like, yeah, these were like the 10 videos that you had to
That's it,
that
right?
was it. It wasn't like a 1,000 videos and these are the 10 they picked. It was like, here's the 10 that you're going to choose from this week, and everyone was engaged. And I think it really brought the music community together because those shows, remember, they had live audiences, remember, and it was like it
Well,
wasn't it
that
wasn't
was
like 5 people calling in. It was like hundreds of thousands of people. They had a huge audience engagement.
yeah, that was huge for MTV, and it made some bands. Like it really made them at the time.
Absolutely.
Some the hair metal bands, Danger Danger was one of them. They had a
Yep.
song called Naughty Naughty, which they put out a video for it. It was good video, it was sexy, but it was the band playing live, but they were hot chicks, and um, it made that rotation in Dial MTV for a very short period of time. It was up there for like, maybe it hit the top spot like for a couple days or something.
Well,
But
and
during that time, I was in a band called Little Sister, and we opened for Danger Danger. They were on tour and they were playing clubs, and that was one of our best shows because it was jam packed and
yeah.
everybody was psyched for that show. So, and they quickly fell off. They had another song called Bang Bang. There was Danger Danger, Naughty Naughty, Bang Bang. That was their thing. And then they just quickly fell off. Ted Poley, the singer, still works out there. But had it not been for that video on MTV, nobody would have known about that band.
Well, and that was one thing I saw that on that Duran Duran show was he said when they did Girls on Film, they made it as close to borderline of being X-rated as they could, so that when it got released, it was instantly like banned in certain countries, and it got huge media, attention, and they were like on, all the news, and it was great publicity stunt for them to get a ton of exposure,
Right.
for the banned video that was too racy for MTV.
Yeah, that was a big controversy. That was always a good way to get press, though.
Right, yeah, and it did, he said they got a lot of new fans from that because all of a sudden people were like, "We don't know who this band is, but, they're in the news, let's check them out." And then all of a sudden they would check, go and listen to them, and then they would become fans.
Right, there you go. So yeah, in that case, the MTV had a huge influence on the music industry and record sales and success of bands. Trickster was another one.
Yeah,
Guys from Jersey. They had "Give It to Me Good." That was a video on MTV on that
yep,
Dial MTV countdown. So people saw it and people bought the record. The record went gold, and they ended up on tour with opening for major artists, Kiss, Scorpions,
yeah.
and did well for themselves. And I think largely in part thanks to MTV and that video.
Well, because
And
again,
then,
that was the only audience back then. Like, that was the only conduit that you had for your video to be shown on national television at that
yeah,
time period,
yeah, unless you were on like a late night show performing,
Yeah, like Don
or
Kirshner's rock concert.
well, that's going way back. That's 70s.
Yeah, but that was still going during MTV times.
Was it? What?
It was late night. It was on like 1:00 in the morning or something. It
I
wasn't
used
like a
to I
prime
used to
time
love
show,
it. I would stay up for that
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. We used to watch, my brother, I told you, we used to watch wrestling, and
Night
then when
Flight.
that was
Yeah.
over, Don Kirshner would come on.
Right.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, there was a station we had called U68 in I know you must have had it
Yeah, I
too.
remember. Yeah, I remember U68.
U68, and they
It was the
played,
only channel like above like 11 that came or 13 that came in.
and they played videos too. They were after MTV, but they played videos too, and they would have like concerts too on like Friday nights.
Yeah.
I remember seeing one of the ones that sticks out in my mind so much that I can find it on YouTube too and go back and watch it. It was Night Ranger on U68, and they only had the first album out, which was "Don't Tell Me You Love Me" was the big
Jack Blades on the
hit from
railroad
that.
track.
Jack Blades. So Jack Blades playing bass and singing, Kelly Keagy playing drums and singing, Brad Gillis, and I forget the name of the other guitar player. But I was just so into that. I was so compelled seeing that. That was one of the first like live concert things that I sat in front of the TV and I was glued to, and I was like, man, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And I still go back and I watch that every once in a while, and it still gives me chills seeing that show. It was just so cool. Brad Gillis and the other guitar player and doing Jeff Watson. Thank you, Danny. I knew Danny would come up with the name. He had that crazy finger tap solo, the way he would play, and like Jeff Watson, and then Brad Gillis, did more of the using effects and stuff.
Yeah.
And Jack Blades is just so cool. Jack Blades was so cool to me. Like he's just long hair and he's up there and he's bouncing around. He's playing bass and he's singing.
Yeah.
That was like U68. So I mean, for us, our generation, it's TV music on TV was such a major influence, I think. And I think there's a lot of people in our generation out there playing music, like we do, playing in cover bands. So I think people should definitely consider your appearance live, how you're looking, how you're dressing. It's really that's a long way to go to get to that, but I don't know.
Yeah, but you got to start somewhere, right? It starts with that image,
Yeah, and you can say the
And,
same thing for me for this
and I can,
podcast. Like I need a shave.
yeah, but I can remember, Steve, like back in the maybe like early, like 2005, 6, 7, somewhere around there. Remember Amish Outlaws were big in Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
and
Tell everybody about Amish Outlaws. What were they?
so Amish Outlaws were a cover band, and they dressed up like a bunch of Amish guys,
Okay.
but full character. They had the suits, the hats, everything. They looked like Amish, and they rocked, and they were like a party band. They were a fun, cover rock act that was all about the party. They had a huge following. They played all the top places. They packed it in, and I remember talking with those guys and meeting with them and seeing them out at a club, and they were still dressed as the Amish Outlaws, even though they weren't playing.
Right.
So even when they went out somewhere, they dressed that way.
Right.
And if they were in places that they had some notoriety, people immediately knew who they were. And if they were in places that people didn't know who they were, then by the time they left there, they knew who they were and they were going to check them out. They were great at marketing themselves. Like you're in a bar, all of a sudden this guy, 4 guys walk in, they're all dressed up like Amish guys, and they're obviously not, Amish. They're regular, rock guys. And it was just funny to see how they manipulated that whole wardrobe and that whole image, and they really leveraged it to make a lot of money for themselves,
Yeah. I never saw them.
And I think someone told me now that they're a Vegas cover band.
Okay.
Like they all moved to Vegas and they had all these great opportunities.
And I know Danny's watching. Amish Outlaws? You see them in Vegas? I never actually saw them, but I saw them advertised all the time, so I knew about them.
Right.
They were in the local music paper, which we used to be the Bible for me every week. The Aquarian.
The Aquarian, yeah.
And then turned to EC Rocker, and then it went back to Aquarian.
Yeah.
That was
Stepping Out came on the scene.
Stepping Out. But the Aquarian was where I would look for gigs or look for players every week in the classified
musicians
section.
Classified section. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually probably got some work from that or found people from that.
But like with any of those bands, Nerds, Amish Outlaws, Overboard, they were the first guys doing like the yacht rock thing, with they all dressed up like, say, they had the captain's hats and all the white gear. They all looked like they were on like a cruise ship.
Right.
For a while there, Steve Tarkanish had a bunch of bands that were all themed bands like that.
Yeah, and
Like
I remember him trying one called Jocks, Jox, and it was all like buff dudes. I remember him trying that. I'm like, really? Come on.
yeah,
I just saw. I never saw the band, but I saw the ads for it. Like,
yeah, but for a while there, he had a bunch of them. Like there was like
yeah,
he was trying to put together these like theme bands, and I think for a couple years he had pretty good success with it, and then other ones, of course, took off, more than others did, like Nerds, Amish Outlaws, but there's still some big bands out there, like Benjamins have been around for a long time, they're still out playing.
yeah, yeah. I see them. They've changed personnel many times.
Yeah, I don't think there's many bands out there with the same people in it.
Yeah,
And that was the one cool thing that they said at the end when they had like a bunch of testimonials on that Rush thing that I saw,
right.
and it had some really good, insightful like commentary on, like, Billy Corgan had a lot of good things to say, and that it was just all different people. Like again, Taylor Hawkins was in that too. He was talking, but they were all talking about how if you watch almost every behind the music, it ends with all the band guys on their own tour buses. They don't talk to each other. They're not friends. The only little bit of piece of oasis that they have left of what their former, glory was when they get on stage together and they actually play and they make the magic happen. And then as soon as the last note's played, they all go their separate ways again. They don't talk.
Right.
Whereas he said it was interesting to see how Rush, right to the end, were like brothers. They were still all friends. They still traveled together. They all enjoyed each other's company and did
Well,
things.
Neil took his motorcycle.
Yeah, he did. But they said, but he would still, they would still pal around, and eat together, and it wasn't like an adversarial relationship in any way. Everything was always split equally 3 ways, regardless of who did what.
Right.
And they all shared in the success that way. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So moving on with the MTV, then it went to TRL, which was the countdown thing too. But then it was Carson Daly. They had the live audience. It was really appealing to that the teenager.
Well, that was the whole TRL, right? Total Request Live.
Total Request Live came after the Dial MTV thing.
Yes.
And it was essentially the same concept, but a live broadcast with Carson Daly and the live show. And that was the age when like Britney Spears came around. And
That was also the second
Aguilera.
wave of VJs.
Right.
That was all the new VJs like Carson Daly, Duff, I forget.
Downtown Julie Brown.
Yeah, Downtown Julie Brown, right. There's a bunch of them.
And then they started having programs. Beavis and Butthead was one.
Right, yeah. And that's when it started to branch out.
Yeah, and then they started with the Jersey Shore thing later. But during that time, one of the programs they had was MTV Unplugged, which really was a huge influence on the music industry at that time. It just changed the dynamic of the way people were approaching music and doing live stuff. And they had a ton of iconic artists on Unplugged. And then all of a sudden, like everybody wanted to do it Unplugged. That was like the thing to do for a couple of years. That was a huge part of MTV having its imprint on the music industry and really dictating what was going on in the music.
Well, and they had
industry.
the corner of the corner of the market too, with all that stuff too. They were the only game in town doing that.
Right. Well, they weren't at that point. Then it was VH1.
No, but I mean, with the Unplugged, they were the first to do the Unplugged, and then the whole mass exodus of Unplugged acts that followed that were all, on MTV. And then they slowly, filtered off onto these other channels, like you said, VH1 or whatnot. But
right. So, and then onward, programs became more of the focus, and then they weren't playing videos at all. So, and that's what people were like, MTV. Why even call it MTV anymore?
Right.
I don't think that's true, Danny. Danny thinks that the MTV Unplugged thing originated from Bon Jovi playing Dead or Alive at the VMAs in 1987, was it? Or 8? He thinks it's 7. I mean, that was certainly a game changer a little bit, but I don't know if that really influenced Unplugged. But Danny's a big Bon Jovi fan, so he thinks Bon Jovi affected everything.
Hey, listen, they were a force to be reckoned with too. They had definitely had influence on on music and the music scene, no doubt. They were definitely one of the top
Yeah.
drawing acts, and still to this day one of the biggest bands.
Yeah, one of MTV's darlings in the 80s,
Oh yeah,
for sure. And it was all about how you looked. Bon Jovi, good-looking guys, John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, and making great music and making fun videos. That
right.
video, "Living on a Prayer" and "You Give Love a Bad Name." I think "You Give Love a Bad Name" came out first, if I'm not mistaken, as a video. But it
Hmm.
was the live, that huge stage with the lights and everything,
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
that video was just so well done, and really propelled that song up into like megastar status. That's when Bon Jovi was like, "All right, we're megastars. Check
Yeah.
us out." They dictated it. They weren't even playing to audience because they were still an opening band. They opened for, like, I think I saw them open for Rat. Um,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Rat was huge when Out of the Cellar came out. They were
well,
everywhere.
the next album, the second album, I mean, Out of the Cellar is one that made Rat, but then the next album, which was I don't remember the name of the album, but it's one, You're in Love was on that,
Yep. Yep.
and Lay It Down, uh, big videos on MTV. So Rat was a headliner, and Bon Jovi was opening. But they went out and they made "You Give Love a Bad Name" with a video, like as if, no, we're the headliners,
Right. Correct.
and
On the
they,
big stage, stadiums full of people. Yeah.
yeah, very law of
Smart.
attraction-y. They went out and said, "This is what we are," and then the universe followed and said, "Oh, okay, you're right. That's what you are."
Yeah. And then they became
Yeah,
huge.
they were out opening for 38 Special when "Slippery When Wet" went huge.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what Danny said. Opening for 38 Special. Can you imagine? Um, so I get a lot of ideas for stuff I want to do with Cover Band Central, and I've done a lot of them, and some of them I haven't done yet. And one idea that I've had, and we've probably talked about it on the Wisdom Hour, probably not for a long time, but was have a competition show with cover bands. And it's been tried before. It was on VH1, Cover Wars, I think it was called. Paul Schaefer was the host, kind of. And
Well, you've already got the CBC cover band competition.
but I mean, like a TV show where it's, a thing. And the thing is, I live in Louisiana. I don't know the first thing about making a TV show. Um, but now there is a show coming on. It's airing in October. Um,
Called Scuba Steve's Cover Band War.
no, it's
Oh.
called Clash of the Cover Bands, and it was created by Jimmy Fallon from The Tonight Show.
Mm-hmm.
And it pisses me off because it's like, Jimmy Fallon, listen, I'm a fan of Jimmy Fallon, but listen, relax, stop trying to do everything. You're the host of The Tonight Show, and
But
he like
Steve,
he comes up with inventions and stuff. Like, I got great ideas, man. I'm gonna do this thing and I'm gonna patent it, and it's gonna be great. And he does that on the show. But now you're stepping into my whole world and taking it away from me. The Clash of the Cover Bands TV show, because he's freaking Jimmy Fallon. He's got a lot of money and connections. He can make a show.
Jerry,
So
have our attorney contact Jimmy Fallon. Tell him to.
I'm
back
upset
off, right?
about it.
Steve's
Anybody
upset.
knows Jimmy Fallon, tell him to call me. I want to be a part of this show. I built this world, or at least put it together before you
And
decided.
he didn't even consult with you, or he didn't even
Nothing.
contact you to say like, "Hey, what's the best way for me to approach this?" And you
Nothing.
could tell him,
I
for a
want
small fee,
Jimmy
I'll
Fallon's
consult.
phone number. Somebody get me Jimmy Fallon's phone number. I want to talk to him. I want him live on our show here.
Yeah, let's go.
I'll tell
Jimmy,
you
get
what,
on.
Jimmy Fallon, you come talk to me.
Yeah,
We'll have you on this Cover Band Central Wisdom Hour, and we will
yeah,
promote
Wisdom
your
Hour.
show, your cover band TV show, if you
Cover
just get in
band.
touch with me and let me be a part of it
Yeah.
somehow.
That's right.
Stop interrupting me. Ah!
I'm backing you. Say, yeah, that's right. Cover bands.
Yeah, because it was my idea first. But whatever. People get ideas. Quentin says, "What's up?"
Let's see how the show does, Steve, and then
That's right. I want to
then we
see
can
the
see
way
the
it's.
next steps.
I'm
Okay,
going to see the way it's set up, the way
correct.
they put it together, and how well it does. But like I said, I'm a fan of Jimmy Fallon, and I think he's probably put together a good show. Probably better than the last VH1 effort.
Probably. And technology in 20 years has gotten a lot better. So,
right. So anyway, it just goes to show you, if you get an idea, you got to move on it. You can't.
you also have to have the resources to move on it too. It's a lot easier for some people than others. I can remember that show Cheers.
Of
So
course.
there's one episode where Ted Danson's talking to the rich guy. I forget his name, but it's like the bartender's girlfriend, a boyfriend. I don't know if it's Kirstie Alley's boyfriend or the other girl. But anyway, they're talking, and he's like, wouldn't it be great if like you could, there's a bunch of vacant buildings that like are next to the Cheers bar. He's talking with the guy inside, and he's saying, if somehow, my dream would be to turn that into a restaurant and then put like, retail, on above it, and then have a little streetscape down the side there. And the guy's like, oh, it's very interesting, blah, blah, blah. And then like 2 weeks later, he sees it in the paper that this guy is going to do that. He's developing the block. He's going to knock the building down, build a restaurant, put the retail in. And he comes in and he's like, dude, that's my idea. He's like, you stole my idea. We just told us the other day. He's like, I told you my idea and you went out and did it. And he's like, yes, because I'm rich and I have money and I have the means to do it. You're just talking about a dream you have. I can actually went out the next day and made it happen. And he's like so bummed out because he's like, it's my idea, man. Like, he was going to figure out a way to do it. And it was done already, like you said, you got to move fast on it.
You got to move fast. So the lesson here is keep your ideas close to your chest. And when you have them, move fast on them. And if you don't have the resources, find the resources.
Yeah. And discuss it with someone that you trust that's not going to go and do it without you.
It's like that, the Bitcoin commercial or whatever. Have you seen those?
No.
They're like they show these two guys kind of at a party hanging out, and a girl looks over from across the room, looks over at this guy, and they both think like she might be interested. And the friend is like, go say hi to her. And he's like, yeah, maybe in a little bit. And then somebody else zooms in and says, hi, how you doing? And they fast forward their entire life there in 30 seconds. Like, like, you want to get married? Yes. Okay. Oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, it's a boy. And the message they're saying is you got to move. You got to move on stuff. You can't wait.
Right.
Which is a very, very clever marketing campaign for a Bitcoin type of thing. Because most people are like, I don't know what Bitcoin is. I don't know what all this cryptocurrency stuff is.
Right. They're not going to buy
no
into
idea.
it.
And their commercial is saying, well, you better figure it out now because other people are figuring it out way ahead of you.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be rich, and you're gonna be sitting there like, what? So maybe I should look into that too.
Put a note. Johnny, make a note. Bitcoin. Do some investigating on that.
And there was another one too that I discovered this app, and I don't remember the name. I'll tell you the name because I will promote them. MySet is the name of the app. And I had this idea years ago, and I did start to move on it, but I didn't finish it. And it was an idea to tip bands via your phone. Make a request on your phone. In fact, we probably talked about it too.
Yeah.
You're at the show, make a request via your phone, and then you can tip the band on an app. And I thought it was a great idea.
And someone came up with it.
Somebody else thought it was a great idea too, and they made one. They made an app. Exactly the idea I had. And it's called MySet. And it's really well made. It's like, oh, okay. So if you think you're getting an original idea, you're not. Somebody else is thinking the same thing.
Right. But who gets it to the touchdown, to the finish line first, right? You got to get it to the goal line and get it in. Get it in the end zone.
Right. So lesson right there. That's wisdom. Move on it.
Wisdom, move on it and run your own race, right? I mean, look over your shoulder, see who's around you and how close they are to you. But there could be 100 people running down the field that you don't even know about with the same idea.
Right.
And you stop to get a drink and rest for a minute. That guy's powering on, man. He's got a portable little Camelback and he's drinking it as he's running. And he's throwing you the finger as he runs by and he's stealing your idea and you're done.
That's it. You're done. So, but damn that Jimmy Fallon. I want to talk to him, and
got to get in touch with him, Steve. We got to get him on the show.
That's what I'm saying. Anybody knows Jimmy Fallon out there, or how I can
get him on the show? Let's go.
Let's get him on the show. I'll promote his show, or as long as he gets me involved with his show.
You can come on my show as long as you include me in your cover band show.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a trade-off,
You'll be
right?
like, I'll get right back to you.
I think that's fair. I have a huge audience in
You do,
Cover Band
Jimmy
Central.
Fallon. We got 61 million people reach. What do you have?
That's right. That's right. Probably way better than him as far as reach is concerned. I bet
That's
you.
right. Well, I don't know. He's got probably, I don't know how long his arms are, but we probably outreach him.
I don't know. But yeah. And I want to be on the Tonight Show, on the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show, promoting my book and promoting Cover Band Central, and playing a little music game too. That's part of the deal.
What is your book?
I haven't written it yet, but I'll have it done by then.
Forthcoming.
Yeah, I have the outline for it.
Okay.
So, and I kind of started writing it. So once that's written, once it's published, I'm going to be on the Tonight Show, and
that's right.
We'll have a long, long relationship.
And then you can be like episode 149 on the Wizdumb Hour. We were calling you out on your stealing our idea.
That's right. I should be a judge. I should be a judge on the show. See, Jennifer is thinking outside.
Who better to have to judge cover bands than Mr. Cover Band Central himself?
That's right. That is right, Jennifer. I want to be a judge on the Jimmy Fallon thing. But
so that's your leverage, Steve. Instead, say I won't sue you for stealing my idea if you let me be a judge, and you pay me a lot of money.
Pay me, a good, reasonable salary.
Pay me good salary, and I'll come be a judge.
Who's a better judge than me? I'm a Cover Band Central guy. I'm going to make that happen. They probably only have celebrity judges. I don't know who the judges are on the show, so I only know it's Jimmy Fallon produced.
Then it's not really grassroots, man, right? You don't have cover band people judging cover bands. You can't have some celebrities doing it. Come on.
Yeah. Get the Cover Band Central guy. I'm telling you, people. Well, maybe I'll start a petition. I'll get Cover Band Central members to sign it, and we'll send it to Jimmy Fallon at
61
Rockefeller Center, the Tonight Show.
61 million signatures on this petition.
We want Steve Witchell to be
a judge
on yours.
Or they're not watching you anymore. Your
cover band competition program. Or we're not watching that, and we're not watching the Tonight Show. How about that? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I got some power.
61
I got some
million,
influence in this
61
audience.
million viewers you're about to lose.
I got some influence.
Better wake up.
That's right. That's right. I'm a celebrity. See, I see Jennifer says I'm a celebrity. I am a celebrity. I am a celebrity. I might need to shave. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you should. I told you what you should do. You just don't want to listen to me.
What did you say? What was it?
I said just keep shaving it all off and leave the unicorn like.
Right.
System of a Down style.
So no mustache, just this.
Yeah, I forget if they have mustaches or not. You just need the long unicorn cone beard. That's like King Tut. Everything else you can shave. Yeah. Born in Arizona, moved to Barcelona.
Babylonia. I got a funny story about that song, which we have enough time for. I had that record.
King Tut song.
King Tut, dude. I got.
Who's the artist? Who's the artist that wrote King Tut?
Steve Martin. The comedian Steve Martin.
I know.
There was a song called King Tut. I got a great story about this song. I used to have 45s. That's how I listened to music when I was a kid. I had 45 records, and I had the radio, just my AM radio, little transistor thing. And I was in 6th grade. We were talking about this before with the dance thing. I was in 6th grade, and we had like a dance and it was the first time, any of us were in that situation where, we were supposed to like dance with the opposite sex or whatever, as kids. And we're playing music, and I was telling people for some reason that I have the record of the song King Tut, because everybody knew it, I guess at the time it was a hit. And I left. They were all excited about it, and so all we had was a record player to play music, like a little cheesy record player.
Yeah, like a suitcase one.
So I went. So everybody was like, "Yeah, wow, that's great. We want to hear it." So I left this dance thing, and I went home. I rode my bike home from school to get the 45, and then I went and I rode it back, and we played it there, and everybody loved it, and they're like, and we just kept playing it over and over again. King Tut.
I thought you were going to say you're on your way back to the dance and you crashed your bike and broke the record.
Right?
And
Oh
then you
no, that
got
would have
back
been
and you were like, dude, I'm sorry I don't have the
no,
record. They were
because
all
then I
like,
would have been
boo.
then I would have said this is a tragic story
Yes, the tragic
rather than
story.
a great
They
story.
were like, you're King Dud.
King Tut. Born in Arizona, moved to Babylonia, King Tut.
Yeah, Steve Martin he had a whole album full of stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that was on his. He had I think it was called Wild and Crazy Guy album,
Yeah.
and I think it was on that. And I used to have that full record too, and I would listen to that all the time. That was one of my favorites. Um, he was really super funny. We lost Norm Macdonald today, by the way. Speaking of comedians, Norm
Say what?
Macdonald died today.
Really?
At 61 years old.
Wow.
Succumbed to cancer. He was hilarious. Norm, I loved him. He's on SNL and other things. It's weird how like celebrities die kind of like only one major one a day. Like you never get two major celebrities in one day that die.
Yeah,
Why is
not
that?
usually. I'm sure that in the past there has been, but
I don't think so.
you know,
I don't think that's allowed. I think only one major celebrity per day.
and
is
whoever
allowed.
dies first on that day gets the day.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. That's it. Then somebody's got to wait till the next
Yeah,
day.
they wait till the next day before they announce the second one.
Right. Or before you die. But they're up at the
Before
gates.
you
Like,
die, hey, I'm gonna probably be dead tomorrow, so I'm just letting you know.
yeah. But if a major celebrity
That
dies today,
yes,
yeah, they're up at the gate. St. Peter's like, wait, hold up.
Yeah.
Okay, come on.
Yeah, come
okay.
on.
Oh,
You're good.
All right. So anyway, what an exciting week and what an exciting episode this has been. Are you playing? Did you play? Are you playing?
Yeah,
What's
I've been
going on?
playing. I played several gigs since we last spoke. Matter of fact, we played Labor Day weekend outside. I don't think we had an episode since then. So that would be the latest gig that I had.
Yeah, I guess we didn't.
Outdoor again, dude. A great gig with this band. It was like, you know, maybe there was like 5 people there at 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, it's Labor Day. It's going to be people down the beach. The weather was kind of crappy. It was starting to rain a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, an hour into the gig, there's 100 people there.
Nice.
And they're all into it. It was like captive audience again. Seems like these places we play, there's a captive audience where they're not just, they're paying strict attention and they're interacting. Right. Like I've never had so much interaction with the band where like after a song, people are coming up and talking to you and people are yelling stuff out. And, it was great. You would love this. So Jimmy, he's always wanted to do this. So we're doing, real quick, we're doing Steve Miller Band.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing Swingtown. So it fades, Swingtown. So it fades in with the drums, So all those guys went around the corner of the venue because it was outside and like hid around the corner. And then I played that groove and had some banter with the crowd for like a good 2 minutes. And then I started playing that groove. Then the bass player walked out from behind the back and started playing the bass part with me for like 16 bars. Then the guitar player walked out, put his guitar on, started playing the thing. Rhythm guitar guy came out, started doing his thing. Then Jimmy came out, started doing his thing, and then the whole band was out there.
That's
and then
cool.
We went to the chorus. Yeah, it was like a show, and it was great because people at first didn't know what we were doing. So as each guy then came out, they were applauding. And by the time Jimmy came out, there was like standing ovation, We weren't even announcing their names or nothing. It was just like silence. We were just jamming and they were just coming out one at a time, putting their equipment on and jamming. So
that's a great song to do that too. And yeah, people are digging live music again because everybody was cooped up for a year.
Oh yeah,
so,
no doubt.
And hopefully I'll be back out soon. But that's all we have time for this week. Thank you guys for watching the Cover Band Central Wizdumb Hour. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. The link is in the description. Subscribe. That's where all the old videos are. And that's where the daily videos are that I do that I haven't been doing this week, but I'll get back to it soon. I just got back home. I've been through a lot for the last month and a half.
Had a whirlwind event, Steve. You
Yes.
need to, you know, get
COVID
right back.
in the hospital, hurricanes, craziness, beards growing like out of control.
Yeah.
But anyway, also coverbandcentral.com. You can sign up for a profile for you, your band, or both. It is free. It'll always be there, and it'll always be free. And I'm working on that now too. And there's that URL, just in case you didn't understand what I said. You can contact me at coverbandcentral.com. I am Steve. If you have any questions, complaints, or concerns,
Scuba Steve, or invitations to be a judge.
Yes. And if you get in touch with Jimmy Fallon, or you know how I can get in touch with Jimmy Fallon, send a message to Steve at coverbandcentral.com so I can be a part of his cover band show that's coming up. All right. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching.
Cover Band Central.